those out. And if you could circulate these among the citizens. I'm David. I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty nervous. Not too fast, so feel free to stop me and make me rewind. I lived in this property for 18 years. We got 48 acres. It's a lifelong goal. And the airport at home someday has been a lifelong goal since probably 1990 when I started flight training. What we have here, to quote the Paul Newman movie, is a failure to communicate. Before I filed for this permit, I went around and talked to all my immediate neighbors, which I thought were the affected parties, and explained to them the risks and how the risks with the airport. I didn't realize how far out the news would go. We've got people who just haven't had sufficient information. If you look at this first page, this airplane is not an ultralight. Somehow that got mistaken into the paperwork. You should be afraid of ultralights. They're unregulated. You can put a chainsaw on a lawnmower and put a piece of cloth on it and fly it legally. This is a real airplane. It's 18 years old. It's been licensed and inspected by the FAA as a light sport aircraft. And it gets an annual inspection by a certified FAA repairman. It weighs under 500 pounds, and it has a top speed of under 100 miles an hour, and it has a landing speed of below 40 miles an hour. Each two. You can see by the second picture, it's not very big. I'm about all it can hold. If you look at, you've already put my picture up for me. We've got a big piece of land, and my intention is to take off from the corner closest to the Fritz property and accelerate diagonally across the field. Here. We'll start off at this fence and accelerate this way. I expect to be airborne by here, and I expect by the edge of my property to be about 500 feet. 500 feet is an important number. According to the FAA, in this airspace, Class G airspace, unregulated, I must stay 500 feet from persons, buildings, and vehicles. No intention of getting within 500 feet of anybody's building. In fact, I'm a big safety fan. My entire both personal and professional life is about risk analysis and risk control. And flying is a big risk, and so I've taken all the steps I can to mitigate that. This plane was specifically chosen for its short landing distance and low landing speed. So it really will land in a parking lot. It lands in about 200 feet. I can make it less if it's really an emergency. The first thing they teach you the first day of flying school is the motor can quit at any time. That worries me. This plane will glide at better than 10-to-1 glide ratio, which means from 1,000 feet, it will glide 10,000 feet on level ground, almost 2 miles to get to a safe landing space. If you look at the area, there's a lot of flat hayfields out here, which I hope to never use, but it's nice to know that they're there. I intend to never fly, except during takeoff and landing, below 1,000 feet. I intend to stay at that height to give myself safe clearance in case of an emergency. My expected flight plan would be to take off to the northwest at a full throttle, and when I get to a safe height, which means that I could glide on engine failure to the field to the left, then I plan to back off the power to a cruise setting, which is far quieter, and exit the area. It's not my goal to circle over people's horses at 500 feet all day long. That's legal. I have no intention of doing that. It's not my goal to circle over the farms next to my house. It's to go fly around and see Oregon. So I expect to depart the valley post-haste while gradually climbing up to 1,000 feet to keep the noise down. One of the things that came up when the State Department of Aviation came out and interviewed the space and everything is he said, how many flights per month? And I said, average? And he said, no, the maximum, because we don't want to upset anybody. And I said, well, 20, because I get 3 weeks a year off, so maybe in July I can get 20 flights in. But the real answer is, I got a day job with an hour commute on either side of it. I can't fly in the fog, I can't fly in the clouds, I can't fly in the rain or the snow or the dark. So, I'd be lucky to get 20 flights in on a summer run. January, we're not going to see a lot. It's going to be taken apart and being inspected for the next year. So some of the complaints have estimated 480 flights based on 20 per month. That's not going to happen. I get really tired of flying if I could fly that much. It would become a job. The law says that I can run agricultural operations out of my field with this airport. I have no intention of doing it. The last thing I want to do is breed atomized herbicides all day long. This is, I said, has been a lifetime goal. 5 years ago, when they gave me 6 months to live with stage 4 cancer, I said I should get these things done soon. So I'm finally working on it. I have no other plans for other pilots in the plane. I have no plans for inviting guests. I suppose that would happen from time to time. One of the complainants was worried about 20 airplanes coming in at once. That's not going to happen. It's a short airstrip. Normal airplanes won't land there. It takes a specially constructed airplane designed for low speeds and short landing strips. A Cessna could make an emergency landing there, but he wouldn't want to. The risks, the costs of farming in the area, I think are two. People are concerned about fire. And it has a 10-gallon tank on it that holds automotive gasoline. That tank is made out of heavy polyethylene or polypropylene, like the gas tank on a dirt bike, except unlike the gas tank on a dirt bike, it's inside of a cage of steel and aluminum tubing. It's behind the rear seat, ahead of the motor. It's pretty well protected, so it's unlikely to fall out of the plane or to rupture in a crash, and I'm not expecting a crash. The other fire concern would be sparks coming out of the exhaust. It's got a muffler. If you turn to, I guess, the fourth picture, it's got a substantial muffler. The engine is 625 cc, which is half the size of a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, the size of a large dirt bike or ATV. It's essentially based on a snowmobile engine. It's made in Germany. It's a pretty high-quality engine. It's pretty expensive, and they're very reliable. The muffler's effective. It cuts noise quite a bit. As far as fire danger, the motor sits up on top of the airplane there. You can see that the lowest part is about 3.5 feet, so I'm not worried about grass touching it. I'm not worried about grass touching the fins and getting too hot. I have instrumentation that monitors the temperature of the engine. It never gets over 350 degrees as a core temperature. The edge of the fins you can put your fingers on. So it's not going to ignite any grass. I think the other big concern is noise, and I don't want to scare horses. I've got many families of deer and other wildlife living on the farm. We don't want to bother them. So the propeller is a design that's very popular in Europe, where they have huge environmental laws and noise laws. It's got 3 blades instead of 2, and that's designed to reduce noise and to make a more harmonious, a smoother noise, rather than getting a wop, wop, wop sound like a helicopter. This is more of a whirring or buzzing noise. So noise, how to quantify it. I borrowed a Senditech decibel measuring noise meter, sound meter, and we went to the A scale, which is the sensitivity of ears, rather than being completely linear. Went out to Independence Airport and tied the airplane down in the middle of a big, flat, empty parking lot there, with nothing around to reflect the noise but the ground, and measured off 100 feet and 500 feet. And you can see on the last page, when we ran it up to full power at 100 feet, and as I said, the Fritz farm would be within 100 feet for the first few seconds of a takeoff, because it's going to be going as soon as that noise level comes up. That reads about 95 decibels, which is comparable to using a chainsaw. At cruise RPM, which I expect to get to by the time I clear my property and go over the gate, it measures out at 86 decibels, which this chart shows is the noise of traffic. At 500 feet, which turned out to be quite a walk, 500 feet is a ways, and that's the closest I'll ever get to anybody. It measures out at 66 decibels at full throttle. I'm talking louder than 66 decibels now. We measured it. I can't talk quieter than that. So I really don't think you're going to have a problem. At 500 feet, it's going to sound like this. About that loud, about that irritating, and it's not going to be around for long. And I expect to be at 1,000 feet. There's an inverse square relationship with the sound, so it will be substantially less than that, almost inaudible at 1,000 feet. The noise being projected at the Fritz farm, where it will be the loudest. We've got a row of trees there and a row of blackberries, and I'd be happy to plant, and probably will plant, another row of trees there for extra sound blocking. One of the things that came up is that Mrs. Fritz said, if bothers an animal, will you call us before you take off so we can deal with the animal? And the answer was, of course. Yes, it didn't mean I plan on calling everybody in the valley and saying, hide your horses, it's about to happen. I appreciate that I've created a lot of fear because people heard airplane and they thought there's F-15s coming over. I got complaints from people who are 5,000 feet away. We have 4-engine airplanes coming over the house at 5,000 feet that doesn't bother anybody. We've got constant helicopter traffic, and we've got Jake brake log trucks that start way too early before dawn, firing off those Jake brakes in front of Mrs. Belt's house every night. I think that probably covers it.
Thank you.
One more thing. The nature area to the north, it's not on the charts. I would not have known about that if it hadn't been through this application process. I've offered to help the water district get it on the FAA charts if they'd like, so it's known. And once it's on the charts, it is a 2,000-foot restriction. I won't violate that law. The scariest part about flying for me is not crashing or getting lost. It's getting in trouble for breaking rules. There's a lot of rules. I spend a lot of time studying. I have no problem cooperating with that.
Any questions of Rosa by any members of the committee?
What's your flight time at max endurance?
Max endurance is probably 2.5 hours with a 30-minute reserve.
Okay. And your typical flight is expected to be?
My knees will hurt by an hour. I'm reaching the age where the bladder is smaller than the heel. So typically an hour, go out and drive around the area and either land at another airport and fly back or come back on the same tank.
Typically, when you land in the reverse order,
Yeah. Yeah, there's trees separating the Fritz Farm from mine, so it's only usable in calm weather. If the wind comes up on me in the afternoon, I can go to Chehalem or McMinnville or Newburgh, and they have all different angles there, so I can accommodate whichever direction the wind is going.
You're using planes for work now?
No, that's of course a dream, and it turns out that work is close to the Hillsborough Airport, so I could fly to the Hillsborough Airport, pay $3 landing fee, and that might happen once just so I can say that I did it, but it's purely for pleasure.
Any other questions by the members of the committee? I have a card of support for Mary Rosenblum.
Commissioners, Mary Rosenblum, 24198 South Skylane Drive in Canby. I'm the president of the Oregon Pilots Association and a member of the State Aviation Board. And I wanted to come here and first of all commend Mr. Lombroso for doing a huge amount of homework, giving a lot of thought to his neighbors, to their concerns, and to their privacy and their comfort, and how he has planned his takeoffs and landings, how he has thought through the altitudes that he'll be at. In general, pilots are very respectful neighbors. I live in a residential air park on the edge of residential Canby. I have never seen one of my neighbors, there's 24 of us, who fly off of an airport. So we see considerably more flights per year than Mr. Lombroso will. Never once have I seen anyone fly over residential Canby. We fly, we depart and arrive strictly over farmland so that we don't disturb our neighbors. I think there's a lot, as he said, of misconceptions. When people see the word airport, they think Hillsborough, and rattling helicopters, and lots of takeoffs and landings. The reality of living in the Willamette Valley in Oregon is that because of very strict FAA regulations about what constitutes visual flight rules, which he's constrained to fly under, there are relatively few days per year when it's legal to fly or safe to try it. You don't have the visibility. You have to have at least 3 miles of visibility, which isn't very far. It's pretty scary to fly in that low visibility. And you have to have at least 1,000 feet of ceiling. So many days it's too low and too foggy to take off. So the chances of him being able to do 20 flights in any month of this year is probably nil. Maybe he could get it off in July. This year, it's pretty clear, but most years no. So you're not going to get many flights. The other thing I think people are concerned about is that this will open land to many people coming and going, flight training, lots of noise. And very few airplanes will be able to land on that strip. I could put mine down if it was that or crash into something, but I wouldn't want to do it unless it was an emergency. And I have a plane that does pretty good short field takeoff performance or landing performance, but this is way short. It's unlikely many other planes will land there. I think what you need to think about is, my neighbor has a Harley Davidson, which weighs more than this airplane, significantly, has probably more gas, and makes a heck of a lot more noise. And this person has no constraints. He can come home at 3 o'clock in the morning and wheel into this driveway with that muffler roaring. It's his driveway. It's his car. It's his Harley. And he can start it up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Lombroso is not flying at night. He's only going to be doing this in daylight. In the summer, that's pretty early if he wants to get up, but most of the year it isn't. He can take the turn too fast and crash right through my front window if he comes in on that thing at 40 miles an hour and doesn't hit the brakes. So this is really not an airport. This is Mr. Lombroso's driveway for a different type of vehicle. He's not opening this up to public use. It isn't a public use airport. It's a private strip. And I really don't care for my neighbor's Harley. It's very loud. It bothers my dog. It bothers me. But it's his right to have it. And I like my neighbor. He's a very nice man. I wish he didn't have the Harley. He does. So I think the context of this has been, it can be a little frightening to think airport, to think Hillsborough, and that's not what this is. This is really a driveway. So I just like to keep that in mind.
Any questions, any questions by any members of the commission? Commissioner Rosa?
Can you give us an idea how many private fields there are in the state of Oregon, and then maybe how many there are in Memphis County?
Oh, there are hundreds in the state of Oregon. Hundreds. We have 96 public use airports, and I think we have 300 and under 400, but it's in the high 300s.
Imagine how cheap is the bunch.
And
How
many,
about in the valley?
and in the valley, I would say probably 2/3 are in the east and southeast part of the state. There's quite a lot in the valley. There are even the ones that are on the charts. I have a set of charts if you'd like to look at them. There's probably 50 on the charts that I can find, and many private use airports are not on the charts because the owners do not want strangers landing on their strips. They don't want the liability. It's not done. And pilots don't do it. You don't land on someone's airstrip unless you're an invited guest. So you're talking there, and these are pretty much invisible. Very occasionally a plane takes off and you hear a little noise, but most of the time you can see relatively few flights per year.
Any other questions by any members of the commission? Thank you. That concludes the proponent's case, unless there's someone who wishes to testify in favor of this application who has not yet filled out a green card. Let the record reflect there are none. That brings us then to the opponent's case. Linda Hayes.
Just my opinion, I didn't need to speak. It was news to me that it wasn't an ultralight. I thought there definitely is a communication problem, because I thought it was an ultralight. That's what the application said, I thought.
Dee Goldman.
I also am astounded that it's not an ultralight, because that's what
That's what the staff report said. I can see why you would have that conclusion. Joyce Woodmore. Oh, did you get that?
I'd probably still like to put some conditions in, but I could do those in writing.
Well, why don't you come up and tell us?
Okay, well, I'm having trouble sorting it out.